Thank you, Mr Chairman. This is a 6-monthly monitoring report from Accessible Properties New Zealand in respect of the Council's sale to them of the pensioner housing portfolio. Happy to take the report as read and answer any questions you may have.
I have a question, Nick. Is the report, and hopefully this is something I should probably know, is the reporting requirement is as a consequence of the debt, is that right? So once they've paid us back, does the reporting requirement then fall away, or is that still continuing?
No. So there are two components. There's a financial reporting requirement, which is, as you rightly say, tied back to the debt.
Okay.
That falls away in March of next year, 2019. But there's a further requirement in respect of the social housing provision. Which obviously probably would go to another committee of council rather than this financial committee. That would be decided.
Don't you think we have a heart or something?
Not at all. Yeah, so that's round the provision of service, the number of existing tenants and so forth.
Okay.
Which is sort of encapsulated in section 15 of this report.
Okay, thank you. And also on the report, so this is page 170 of our agenda. The second to bottom bullet point, Accessible Properties say we have spent more than the intended maintenance allocation for the year ended 31st December 2017 due to higher than anticipated maintenance and deferred maintenance issues. Is that a reference, and I'm not at all trying to play games here, is that at all a reference that perhaps council had not kept the thing up to state under our ownership? Is that what they're saying?
It's possible. I mean, I think what they're probably more likely to say is that a lot of the stock was quite old and would require maintenance at some point, and that probably those maintenance requirements have occurred in some instances sooner, perhaps, rather than they had budgeted for. Okay. So I don't think I'd read much more into it than that.
Okay. And I note, and I didn't know this, that they've been involved in social housing, they call it, in Hamilton since 1954.
Yes.
So they're not new kids to the...
No.
Kids to the block, are they?
Not at all. They do fly pretty much under the radar, but I mean, I think it's important to remember that they are the largest provider of social housing in the country outside the government. So they're a big player.
Astonishing, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nick. Ziggy.
Yeah, thank you so much for that report. Look, I just wondered, I know they're all compliant and whatever, but what would happen if they're not compliant? Would we take them back, or do they have to give them back?
It would depend on the nature of the non-compliance, but there are quite stringent safeguards built into our agreements with them, both in terms of their financial performance, but also in terms of their ongoing monitoring, their ongoing obligations to provide social housing. So our financial requirements are secured against mortgages, and effectively, if they weren't to come up with the entire amount owing, we would take them back. I think that is unlikely to happen. In terms of their ongoing social housing provisions, there are fines within the agreements for non-compliance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ziggy. Paula.
Thank you. Thank you. Just around the rent increases, what's the new referring to? That was the rent we were charging for those. That's what they're charging. Middle column. Sorry, page 171. And the new is that what it's going up to?
Yes.
Or has gone up to since 11th of December?
Yes.
So when we had it was 130 for one bedroom. It's now 160.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. But what they're saying in the text around that is it's still calculated against affordability. Yes. So has income from work and income gone up? For those people who might be on a benefit, would you expect that to be related to what they're getting, money they're getting in?
In some cases where they're not for existing clients that were in place when they purchased, but for new clients who've come on subsequently, there would be a government subsidy available, which wouldn't have been available to those same clients if we were the landlord.
Right.
So that will offset some of that that rental increase. But effectively, they are also benchmarked back to affordability indices, so they can't move outside a certain set of parameters in terms of a rent increase.
Cool. In terms of the maintenance and such, I know I've been in many of these flats actually. How do we? They don't have to tell us, I guess. They just do the maintenance. Do we get to understand what kind of maintenance is required? You're right. That old stock. I know that, for example, a lot of those triangular ones have no insulation in the ceiling because they were built that way, right? And they also have no heating, fixed heating. They can plug a heater in. So those are two issues which the government is taking quite seriously, and they ventilation, heating, insulation. So do we know, or can we know, whether a large part of their need to renew these places has been around the heating and insulation of the properties? Or
We don't have that level of detail. I'm sure they wouldn't object to supplying it if we requested it. No, they're not obliged to give a breakdown of the maintenance requirements or the maintenance that they've undertaken as part of their agreement with us. But reading through, I mean, they identify in here what they have done. In terms of capital upgrades, they've advised us what they intend to do, and we can always ask them for a more detailed breakdown of that spend if councillors felt that was beneficial.
I was really just interested around the quality. To me, it speaks to the quality of the property.
It's interesting. The illustrations on page 169. I don't know if you recognise that. That's the Peach Grove Road pensioner complex. The photos, people who've seen those photos haven't been able to identify it because it bears very little resemblance to what it looked like previously. But you can see what they've done there effectively in terms of that courtyard effect has produced seating areas, screenage, additional parking on the honeycomb seal, and in fact just created a much more pleasant ambience altogether. Would have been useful if I'd had a before and after photo to show you, but unfortunately I don't have one of those.
Yeah, the amenity's nice. It's improved. It's given them outdoor. I get that. I guess I was just really interested in the health aspects relating to. But anyway, it was just if you do find out, just be interested to know.
Yeah, look, I think I suppose the comment I would make is that these people are utterly professional and at the forefront of this area of community housing.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting they're not, just wondering what the cost drivers were.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, I'm happy to move. Seconded by Andrew. Martin, so we're on the Accessible Properties Limited report. Those in favour of receiving the report, is there anyone against? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to our last item in public, which is item 11, page 159, Key Projects Monitoring Report. Natalie.
I'll lead this report and just take it as take it as read. Any questions?
Sorry, colleagues, I'm trying to find the page.
159.
Yeah, I have one. The Ring Road Upgrade Extension project is currently in amber due to land procurement and rights of first refusal issues still to be resolved. Who are the rights of first refusal in favour of?
I can take that one. So this relates to a portion of land which is on the south side of Cobham Drive, which is currently part of Council's reserve estate. So there is a process.
Close to the gardens or something, is it?
That's right. Yes. So there are previous owner matters to work through in relation to reclassifying that land as road.
So this is not a tainui or
Yes.
Maori rights issue?
Yes, it will be, yes.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yes, it will be. But in terms of the work that's happening at the moment on site, there's no issue. But it would be a matter we need to address at the point where we come to legalise the finished product.
Okay, the reason I ask is because I'm on the joint venture thing, and this is one of the issues they're quite concerned of. So obviously they're aware of it and everything like that. So
It would be wrong to say there's concern. It's simply a matter that needs to be worked through.
Yeah.
But there's no clear resolution at this point. But it would be wrong to say there's a problem. We've had some really.
sorry, I didn't mean that in
No.
specific. That just their general thing was that we didn't. They had a general concern that we weren't. No one seemed to be quite fully on top of which land within our district has this rights of refusal on it. So,
Yeah.
as long as this has been raised, that's great.
Yeah. So it's being worked through at a whole of city level at the moment, not just this project.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. On both page 100, this is just my little gripe about we're talking about page 162, we're talking about, with regard to Hamilton Gardens, we're talking about completion date at the end of May. Presumably that's May 2018. Does anyone know?
Yes.
Okay. Can that just be updated, please, Lance, or whoever's can't? Martin, could you swivel round? I want to make eye contact with Lance. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Did you notice how many months had a year?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're getting there. And there's another one on page 163, Rototuna Town Centre. That also is a March. I presume that's 2018, is it?
Yes.
So it's passed. Has it been done?
Yes.
Okay, so that's okay. Great. That was all from me. Thank you, Siggy.
Question on page 160, down the bottom at the risks. So basically with the risks of the river plan, to uncover archaeological matter in the museum to grant them connection, and also the risks exist around actually I'll talk first about the jetty. I thought there was a plan for the jetty already. Have things changed? Or
Oh, the jetty. Oh, sorry.
jetty.
Oh, 20.
Did I say that properly?
So with the jetty, there's a paper going up to Council on the 19th of April. During the briefing, I alluded to the fact that there is potential for two options, one that's within the budget and one which increases the level of service.
Okay, right. And
Sorry, the archaeological?
yeah, is that just a potential? We don't know yet.
There's an
100%, or
allowance in
is
the
there
program for a reasonable amount of archaeological find, but there may be more than what we've allowed for. It's just an area where there is.
Can you just talk into your mic? It's just a bit hard to.
Apologies.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's hard to do that when you're looking at Siggy. Yeah.
There is an allowance in the program for a reasonable amount of archaeological
You don't have to stare at
find.
me, but you can. I know I'm captivating, but
But if there's more than what we expect, then it'll push it out.
okay.
Okay, that's all. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thanks, Siggy. Are there any further questions? All right. I'll move the report. You happy with that, James? Okay. Siggy, Mallet, Henry, those in favour, those against. Is there any nays? Okay, pass unanimously. Thank you. Okie dokie, we now move into the public excluded part of the agenda. And I've got to read something.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you. Yeah. I need, where is that resolution? Oh. Okay. So on page 248, there's a resolution. Andrew's moved it. I'll second it, that we move into private or out of public. Those in favour, those against. Is there any against? Okay, passed unanimously.